Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera, selamat petang, apa khabar semua? Anak-anak, adik-adik khususnya. Tak senyap je siapa? Rasa tak sihat ke? Jumaat Mubarakah. Salam sejahtera kepada semua. Dan khususnya kepada our great teacher, great scholar, rector of the university, Professor Dr. Osman Bakar. Saudara Matias Ho dari Indonesia, selaku Direktor Lemena Institute Jakarta, tuan-tuan dan puan-puan yang saya hormati sekalian, you don't mind I speak. Let me speak in my language first. You know, it's not only policy, because it is very important also for us to express, and to appreciate one's language, especially your national language. Kesempatan yang diberikan ini adalah sangat bermakna kepada kami semua. Khususnya ketika kita membicarakan soal dunia yang semakin dikatakan tidak selamat, disebabkan oleh pertumbungan-pertumbungan yang berlaku. Maka pada beberapa bulan yang lalu, Profesor Osman, Saudara Matias, dan juga sahabat saya, Profesor Alwi Shihab, yang sepatutnya berada di sini sama-sama membincangkan Malaysia selaku pengurusi Asean pada tahun ini dapat melakukan sesuatu untuk keamanan dunia dan juga khususnya keamanan Asean. What I was trying to deliberate just now is on the importance of these forums. About a couple of months back, when Prof. Osman and Professor Alwi Shihab, as well as Mr. Matthias, called me to have dinner, the so-called dinner. Of course, in show of respect to all of them, actually, they are like my brothers. I told them, okay, let's have dinner. It's not only dinner for makan, but also dinner for thought, actually, food for thought. And finally, we discussed something very important at that time, something that we need to do, at least something that we can contribute to create a peaceful world from a religious standpoint. Being a student of comparative religion myself, because sometimes I was from here doing my economics. I have Kaoni here. It's my great teacher last time. Yeah, was teaching us on comparative religion. Then further, I pursued my studies in comparative religion at Temple University. We have all the mafia here of the great teachers. We discussed this matter seriously then. What to do with our world today? What can universities like IIU, as well as Lemena Institute, can do something, at least to this region? And finally, we come together, and then today is the results of our discussion. So I must congratulate to Prof. Osman and Dr. Matthias for having this conference. Actually, this is the subject of my interest, though. I'd like to give another lecture on this, but due to time constraint, I have to rush to another function, a very important function. Today it's alone. I have 4. We just finished our cabinet meetings, and then after this, I got to rush to another Hari Academia Malaysia, and then after that, I have to receive Tunku Sultan Brunei, because this week is a rather busiest week for all of us, including the Prime Minister himself. So Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, and my adik-adik, and I'm very delighted to see all of you, adik-adik in particular. You are representing our current and future generation. And I'm very happy to see students around here. Yeah, I'm not as much as I appreciate the presence of our, speakers and scholars. Bukanlah saya tak respect scholars, tapi I think we have this, the younger generation who ought to know about the principle of coexistence, how we can coexist together peacefully. And just 5 months ago, let me read because they prepared something for me, so I got to, based on some of the ideas that I have also given to them. At the 46th ASEAN Summit in Kuala Lumpur, our leaders reaffirmed their shared commitment to fostering an inclusive and cohesive community, one that honors our immense diversity in culture, faith, and heritage. Under strategic measure 9.7 of ASEAN Political Security Community, we pledge to promote cross-cultural religious literacy program. And today, Malaysia takes pride in hosting this inaugural forum to translate that vision into meaningful actions. My dear friends and ladies and gentlemen, for Malaysia, this forum holds particular significance. It aligns seamlessly with the Malaysia Madani vision, a vision articulated by our Prime Minister, Dr. Sri Anwar Ibrahim, as a moral and philosophical framework that places compassion or rahmah, respect or ihsan, and responsibility, amana, at the center of the national life, as also alluded by our Prof. Osman just now. The Prime Minister often reminds us that the Madani framework is not merely a political slogan, but a civilizational vision, one that seeks to harmonize faith and reason, spirituality and modernity, and diversity and unity. It reflects the same aspirations underpin this forum to nurture a society and a region that are humane, ethical, and deeply conscious of our moral responsibilities to one another. Yesterday, I was giving another lecture to another group, very important group, about the principles of Madani. How we strike the balance. If you see the principle of Madani, for example, you will see the 6 main pillars. 3 actually represent the very moral foundation of the visions. And another 3 is about technologies and how you create a sustainable world and so on and so forth. In other words, what I'm trying to tell you, that all those 6 principles are really presenting the right balance between one's life in this world and also in the next world, and also in the inner self as well as the physical self. We must not merely tolerate diversity, we must celebrate it. This celebration of diversity is not naive idealism. It is a recognition of our shared humanity, of our ability to draw strengths from difference and wisdom from dialogues. After all, we know the Quranic verse that you have. I suppose all of you already memorized it. Ya ayuhan nasu inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa unsa wa ja'alnakum syu'uban wa qabailan li ta'arafu. the principle of lita'arafu, the principle of knowing each other. We are also building upon the inspiring experiences of our ASEAN neighbors, such as Indonesia, where collaborations between the Limena Institute and government agencies have successfully advanced cross-cultural literacy through education and interfaith engagement. This example reminds us that when we approach difference with empathy and humility, we strengthen the moral architecture of our society. My dear friends, to truly embrace cross-cultural religious literacy, we must first understand the rich historical tapestry of our region, a tapestry woven not in conflict, but with encounter, exchange, and coexistence. That is the reality of ASEAN, comprising of different civilizations. It is a real linchpin where all the central and core elements exist here. When you talk about Islamic civilization, the tapestry of culture and the practices of Muslims, you find it here. When you talk about Chinese or Buddhists, we have also the Pakar, or our expert here, scholars, and also the Hindu civilizations, and for that matter, even the Christians or Western civilizations, you all have here how it interacts with each other. From the enemy's worldview that honored nature and ancestors to the arrival of Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam, and Christianity, Southeast Asia's story is one of the interactions and adoptions, not conquest. The diffusion of faith along the maritime Silk Road gave rise to unique syncretic tradition from Srivijaya to Majapahit to Malacca that celebrated harmony and inclusivity. The kingdom of Srivijaya, for example, welcomed Hindus and Muslim scholars. Majapahit harmonized Buddhist and Hindu cosmologies. And Malacca, under Islam, maintained ties with Buddhist, Siam, and Christian traders from Europe. Conflicts that did occur were seldom about theology, but about trade and politics. Thus, long before the term ASEAN existed, our ancestors had already practiced what we now call civilizational diplomacy. Today, ASEAN continues to manage this inherited pluralism. I know when you coin the words pluralism, I have to be cautious about it a little bit, yeah. I don't mean anything. Please don't quote me that I'm promoting pluralism in that sense, yeah. You have to go back to the very root of the terms, yeah, to understand it, yeah. I don't know somehow why they use it. I have to read it through. Anyway, let me explain that too, because you have to understand, because we are not as much as nowadays. People start talking about, about Abrahamic faith. When one of the statement made, one of the leaders, they said we are trying to create a new religion. So I said, well, we've been thought about the Agama Samawi, yeah, the Abrahamic religions. It's not Abrahamic religion, yeah. So if someone tried to create a new form of religion, they call it Abraham. Maybe some people misunderstood the term Abraham Accord to Abraham faith. So through what we call ASEAN ways and culture of diplomacy, grounded actually in consensus and non-interference, respect for diversity, informal, consultative decision-making, and harmony over confrontation. These same principles guided Malaysia's own foreign policy engagement during my tenure as Minister of Foreign Affairs, where we consistently emphasized the idea of diplomacy of humanity. I was lucky then because Professor Alwi Shihab was my classmate then at Temple University. When he came back to Indonesia, he was then appointed as a foreign minister too. So, anyone graduate from Temple now, normally they will, experience once in their lifetime. Well, maybe after this, the rector will be the one. Or maybe some of you. In every engagement, whatever addressing the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, mediating through the OICs, or promoting peace in conflict-affected regions, Malaysia's voice was one of balance, empathy, and moral clarity. We sought to build bridges, not walls, to bring people together, not divide them. It was in those experiences that I witnessed firsthand how faith-based values and cross-cultural understanding can become powerful tools of peace building. Whether in regional forums or in international assemblies, Malaysia stood firm on one conviction that our diplomacy must always be anchored in values, not in mere expediencies. My dear brothers and sisters, in Islam, these values or values of shared ethical foundation across faith foundations are beautifully reflected in the Quran. For example, in the principle of justice, it is clearly mentioned about how one needs to command with justice. Inna Allah ya'muru bil adl wal ihsan. For example, the principle of shura, is again the principle of consultation, where you need to consult each other in order to understand people around you. Wa amruhum shura bainahum. The principles of rahmah, the principle of compassion toward others, the very purpose of the Prophet Muhammad's message. And Allah affirmed his one of the important responsibility when Allah sent him to bring, not to bring chaos, to bring rahmah. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. And it also talking about amana. And you know amana, how once is required to render trust. Allah says, Inna Allah ya'murukum an tu'addul amana ila ahliha. These are all the Quranic, or what you can call Quranic vocations, to call everyone together. These are very principles as what our Professor Osman has been telling us about the need to build a civilizational dialogue based on common understanding, on common values. And here, right here, in this university in particular, we can do that to tell the world about the values that we need to cherish. And it resonates well, not only within this wall, but also outside these universities later on. These shared values mirrors ASEAN's own principles of consensus, dialogue, peace, and respect. They also echoed similar ethical imperative in Buddhism's karuna, or compassion, Christianity, agape, or love, and Confucianism's ren, yeah, benevolence. As Datuk Sri Anwar, our Prime Minister, has frequently reminded us, these shared moral traditions across faiths are the foundation for what he calls a new moral economy. I'm a student of economy. If you are not guided with these certain values, very principles, that's why you are saying what he always called the term, the unbridled, or it depends how you pronounce it, unbridled capitalism. Yeah, they will sweep everything for the sake of making profits alone. One that prioritizes justice. Where he's been talking about the new moral economy, that one that prioritizes justice, compassion, and shared prosperity over greed and indifference. It is in this ethical space that cross-cultural religious literacy becomes not only a social necessity, but a moral imperative. I know it's a bit high, my speech, but it's good for you to listen some of the argument after this from our respected scholars here. During my time as Foreign Minister and Foreign Service, I found these truths repeatedly reaffirmed, that our region's greatest strength lies not in uniformity, but in its ability to balance diversity with dignity, principle with pragmatism, and faith with reason. The very balance that the Prime Minister has described as essential to the souls of Madani. My dear brothers and sisters, to move forward, ASEAN must transcend mere tolerance, which is passive coexistence, towards meaningful engagement and mutual enrichment. Cross-cultural religious literacy is not simply about knowing the others. It is about seeing through the eyes of the other. Ya. Bukan hanya kita melihat orang. Ya. Bukan hanya kita melihat orang yang ada di hadapan kita. Tetapi kita juga perlu ada kemampuan untuk melihat ke dalam diri kita. Memahami tradisi kita itu sendiri. Sorry, just express a little bit. So for that, all our respected students who seldom speak in Bahasa, so they can also follow a little bit some of the terms here. It is about seeing through the eyes of the other, recognizing their humanity, and allowing that understanding to transform our policy and institutions. I remember when the Prime Minister always mentioned to us about the problem we are facing, that besetting the world today. One of the reasons because of we unnecessarily create fear. Fear of the unknown, they call it. Sometimes you don't know who is your enemy is, or enemies are. Well, we keep on creating they are. Oh, they are there, they are here, they are there. But where are they actually? Sometimes you keep on asking yourself. You keep on asking because the culture of fear, which are really infiltrated in your mind, that cause some anxieties among ourselves. Disebabkan oleh ketakutan-ketakutan yang kita tidak tahu ketakutan apa sebenarnya. The fear of the unknown, as I call it. Takut macam kita dululah. Ya. Bila waktu adik-adik sekarang mungkin tak rasa suasana itu ya. Macam kami zaman Prof Osman, pergi. Malam-malam kan nak keluar tarik. Pergi. Ada hantu dah. Takut, tapi tak ada hantu pun. Tapi kerana diwujudkan suasana kata perasaan takut, ketakutan kepada hantu itu, menyebabkan kita tak berani keluar rumah untuk pergi jumpa kawan ke atau pergi mana. Betul Profesor yang ada depan, dan yang imam kita ada sini. The Prime Minister has long argued that dialogue among civilization is not a luxury. It is a necessity for our collective survival. His call resonates even more today as our societies face the twin crises of polarization and misinformation. We must restore the moral foundation of discourse and rebuild trust through education and shared moral reasoning. My experience in diplomacy taught me that true understanding does not emerge from documents or declarations. In the world of diplomacy, normally you have the term, for example, track one diplomacy. You know what is track one diplomacy? Track one diplomacy is G to G. You sign the seal and they show to the people, we have an MOU between the two countries. But the most important thing actually is more a shared human encounters. From sitting across the table, listening, sharing, and also discussing something of human interest. That really makes diplomacy work. This is what some people call track 2, track 1.5. For the students, if you are interested in the study of international relations, you go and study this. This is very important from people to people, P to P, or B to B, or business to business diplomacy. That really makes you, really help the countries better in terms of their relationship. So, to me, those moments reinforce my belief that bridging our hearts, is the highest form of diplomacy. Though I only, serve only for 1 year, but the effect I can feel until today. Because the Prime Minister reminded me, Zamri, this is your responsibility. You go out, I know you can interact with people around the world based on your connection and our connection before. Because based on the people to people and heart to heart, that makes our countries being very, very much respected by many, many countries in the world. So, my dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, today marks not an end, but a beginning, also a starting point for sustained dialogues, shared learning, and collaborative policy building across ASEAN. Let us, therefore, commit ourselves to advancing cross-cultural religious literacy as a cornerstone of our shared ASEAN identity grounded in justice, or adil, compassion, or rahmah, and peace, or salam. So on behalf of the Ministry of Higher Education Malaysia, I extend my deepest gratitude to IIUM, Professor Osman, and the members of the academic, and to Lemina Institute, Pak Matius, makasih ya. Makasih kerana menanggung ongkosnya ya. And Stratsi for their steadfast collaborations. May this forum strengthen the morals and intellectual foundation of our ASEAN community. And with that, As much as I want to speak more, because it's a subject of my interest actually, but because due to time constraint, I got to rush to another function. I'm pleased to officially launch the ASEAN Cross-Cultural Religious Literacy Forum. Terima kasih. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.